Tell us a little bit about the role and mission of the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School Clinical Research Center.
The main mission is to bring promising treatments and diagnostics from the laboratory and the bench to the patient's bedside and then outside to the community.
How did the research center get involved with the COVID-19 pandemic?
So before the pandemic even happened, the centers had been in existence for many, many years, over 15 years or so, or even longer. And in that process, the centers had really developed an expertise in the ability to conduct human research and clinical trials. So when the pandemic happened, we were ready in a sense because of the call to researchers to really ramp up and develop new treatments and new vaccines and new ways of dealing with this horrendous pandemic that was hitting us. So we were able to respond to that call to try new treatments, new vaccines in a very short time. Within weeks, we were up and running in doing a huge healthcare workers study, looking at how the pandemic was affecting the healthcare workers who were at the front lines. And soon after that, along with it, came the new treatments, like the remdesivir study and some of the other new antiviral and ways of treating those that were in the hospital and very sick. So we helped activate those, and on the back of that came the vaccine studies. So we were one of the largest centers in the country, actually the second largest in the world, that enrolled people in the Johnson & Johnson vaccine study. We enrolled something over 800 people very rapidly, within a matter of weeks, to conduct the vaccine study. And as we are doing that, along comes Pfizer with the children's study. So we started doing the pediatric vaccine studies, and those studies are still going on.
So you've taken a very special interest in ensuring that clinical research participants are reflective of the gender, the race, the ethnicity of the general population. Why is that so important?
Because if you look at clinical research studies that are done, and you look at what proportion of those are people from minority backgrounds, people from the lower socioeconomic strata, and the participation rates is really small. I mean, if you look at the general population and see the proportion of people that are from those backgrounds and compared to what goes on in clinical trials, it's a huge discrepancy. So when we talk about, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is really a popular notion these days, and you look at clinical trials, they are lacking, very sorely lacking in that participation. So there is a research inequity, is what I call it. Mm-hmm. And why is that important? And that's important because when you look at human diseases, which is what we are studying in clinical trials, when you look at human diseases, they don't affect everybody equally. There are differences genetically, sociologically, how diseases affect different people. And if we don't study those among the people who are suffering from it, you cannot generalize the knowledge you gained by studying one population to the other population.
So why is receiving the Community Service Leader Award important to you?
One of the things that I think is really important to me is that it is raising the profile of clinical research that I think people really don't understand very well what it is all about, why it's important, and how difficult and complicated it is. The second thing is that's even more dearer to me is that it does recognize all of the work that the team did in the Clinical Research Center. We have a team of highly qualified, very well-trained, long-standing research staff that put in hours and hours of painstaking work during the pandemic. And came in every single day, no lockdown, no break, no vacations. I mean, has been so inspiring for me to see that happen. And I think this award recognizes that work.